It is a tough path to tread between being a psychological thriller and then just being outright confusing. This movie falls into the latter just a little bit. Nyx. Now, Nyx is a psychological thriller horror, although it does lean a lot more towards psychological than any horror elements. That's okay. I don't mind a movie like that. Some psychological movies are fucking great. Some psychological horrors are great. So what is Nyx? This movie starts off so strong. It really does. They make it very clear by a heading that it takes place at the start in the past. Now, we're following a loving, budding little family here. You've got Tessa, Lucas, and Jack and their parents. They're chilling at home, they're going out on a camping trip. All the usual suspects are on display here for just creating that family dynamic. Now, what I thought was really refreshing, that only one of the kids is a cunt. And what I mean by that is, we've got 3 children in this family. One of them's a prick, and it's Lucas that's an arsehole here. You know, you typically see that one of the kids gets bullied a lot by the other 2, they kind of gang up on them. Not here. It was quite nice. We've seen that Lucas was a bit of an arsehole. He would kind of terrorise Tessa, just scare her, bully her in a sibling kind of way. And Jack had her back. Jack was great at this and making sure that he stood up for her. Now, these are just kids. I thought their acting was really good as well, but I just liked seeing that dynamic. There's just too many movies where like the bullied one becomes the main focus for the rest of the film. Not here. So out on their little walk, they go for a picnic. And it's out on this picnic that Jack sees something out in the woods and he calls out to his dad. And again, bloody refreshing. His dad looks and investigates it immediately. You know, he's not just going to palm it off or just chalk it up to something that's probably in the area but he doesn't quite know for sure. No, he investigates it. It's nothing. However, it's just good to see that. Now, where this kind of past story ends is with Tessa dying. We don't know much more than that, but we just know that she gone. She went out into the lake to get back her baseball. Something happened. You don't get much more than that at this point. Then we jump to the present, and this is where we see how it's impacted all of the characters. Although, what shade to the dad in this movie? You know, Tessa died on this day, so did the dad, but the focus is Tessa. There's hardly a mention to their dad here, and he's also gone. Like, I get he wasn't a kid, however, that was a very traumatic day. Surely they would be, like, equal measure, or at least 60-40. It is a kid at the end of the day, give her 60, but fucking mention him. We see that Jack's doing okay. He's pretty normal, he's got a good job, and he's got a friend/girlfriend who's moving away and wants him to go with her. Now, they're not together because of his family dynamic, and he makes this clear, which I can fully understand when we start getting introduced to the family here. You know, she wants more, but she also respects and kind of understands where he's coming from. Now, it's Tessa's 8th birthday, and I know what you're asking, how can it be her 8th birthday when she died fucking ages ago? Well, the mum's batshit crazy. It clearly hit her fucking hard. Every year they celebrate Tessa's 8th birthday because her body wasn't found, so in her mum's head that she's still just missing, she could be out there, and she's just holding on to faith. And also we get a lot of Lucas in this scene. Lucas grew up and he didn't do well for himself. You know, Lucas is off the rails, he's a bit of an addict. He has a kid, but he has a kid to a very clear addict. Like, he might be... No, the mum's 100% on something. So at this 8th birthday party, Lucas freaks out at the mum because he's just had enough of kind of celebrating what won't be celebrated. You can see his point fully. However, you can also see the mum. She's a grieving mum, only for her daughter apparently. Her man couldn't give a fuck. And so tension is just rising in this family. Jack is babysitting everybody, and he wants to look into this. He wants to finally get answers, get a resolution, put his mum's mind at rest, and himself just understand what happened. Although he came out the other side of this pretty normal, it clearly still fucks with him. And as a setup goes to investigate something from the past, I quite like that. Doing it for your mum, doing it for your family, and just getting that peace of mind. You know, nothing spooky's happened just yet that's made him go down this road. Although spooky stuff's coming, just you fucking wait. So there's a lake monster. Just going to get that out the gate now. There's a lake monster. And don't worry, this isn't like some big reveal putting him on screen just now. This lake monster is shown more than I would have liked in the movie. I'm very much in the camp of when there's a monster, keep them off screen as much as possible. Show them briefly, let the imagination do most of the work. They just show the monster off. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy the design of him, so that must be why they've brought him front and centre, because the artist team that worked on him must have been fucking proud of themselves. And yeah, fair play to them. So as Jack's looking into this and going back to the lake where Tessa died and their dad also died, I just feel like I need to remind them of that because they fucking don't know. As a kid, he was on a video camera, so he takes this back as an adult. He's replaying the footage and starting to see some more weird shit in it. There's this standard picture rearranging thing as well. You know, there's a few familiar stops here when it comes to somebody getting messed with. But there's also this creepy old lady at the lake. She's a very cliche, creepy old lady. She doesn't do anything to surprise you. She just fills that void of someone that isn't exactly clear but also knows something. She does the job, but I was expecting just a little bit more, at least a little bit of an answer from her, which you sadly just don't get here. But whilst Jack is further looking into this, he's still babysitting everyone involved. You know, he's trying to investigate and get answers, juggle the family and make sure everybody's okay, literally babysit his niece, and also his like girlfriend, not girlfriend. She's now along for the ride. I know she's all in, and credit to her. This is a fuck ton of baggage in this family, but she clearly likes Jack. Like, he must have an amazing... And also, we get introduced to their uncle in this movie. He seems pretty sound. There's not a clear answer as to why he's disconnected from the family. He's got his own thing. He's clearly kind of disconnected himself a little bit. Jack reconnects with him and they get on really well. He seems normal. He seems grounded. And there's tension between the mum and the uncle. But they don't go into much detail as to why. We've just learned to accept that the uncle was kind of cast out. Probably because he didn't believe in something creepy happening. But that's my take. Wait, 2 seconds. Is that Mike? Is that fisherman Mike up there on the wall? Mike Ehrmantraut? Although when we see him, what is with this manky water? Like, that's manky water that you're handing a child right now. Fucking... Come on. All the budget didn't go on the lake monster. It's a movie trying to get to the root of this because this monster is most likely what's taken Tessa. The creepy old woman knows something about it and the family don't have a clue what's going on. So whilst they're investigating, it seems like it's going to be a horror about the monster that took her, but then this is where the realm of psychological comes in. Lucas is clearly an addict from what happened in those days, and that is playing on his mind a lot. Probably what led him to the drugs in the first place. So he's dealing with his own guilt as well. He was a prick as a brother and probably could have done more. So I couldn't imagine that just being on your mind for years. Playing on the mum's mind as well, because in her head she's not lost her family because the bodies weren't found. It seems to do a lot more for family dynamics and psychological issues, this film, and addiction and all of those areas, rather than just be a horror movie. The characters aren't that subtle. You know, they've all been written into their roles. It's front and centre what all of their flaws are, so all these characters just feel a bit cliche for my liking. Thankfully, we like Jack. Jack and the niece, who totally forgot her name. They're really good and I like their relationship growing as well. Like, he's very protective over her and she's a clever kid. But not too clever. She doesn't have a fucking clue what like a tape is.
What's that?
It's videotape.
What does it do?
Plays movies.
So it's a phone?
Oh, come on. Like, I liked you. And now you say shit like that. So look, with all these kind of talking points here, what would I be saying about Nix? If you've got nothing else to watch and you like a psychological movie, put on Nix. It doesn't execute the ending very well, you know, whether it was all real, whether it was in their heads as a hallucination, because it goes to some fucked up places. Which I'm not going to go into here in case you do decide to watch it, but if you have seen it, you're going to know what I mean. I thought some of the aspects to Jack looking into the matter were very interesting. I quite liked how they executed them. But then on the flip of it, some of the things he was doing just led to more questions, even though I think we were meant to get answers from it as an audience. So either it just went well over my head, or I wasn't alone and been a bit confused by Nix. The monster design was great. I thought the performances in here were alright, even if they were all quite cliche, quite standard for what you'd expect. Grieving mother who's clearly put a mental block in. You've got the addicted uncle. You know, they pull out all the stops. But it's not going to scare you, this movie. It's not quite as horror as you think it was going to be when it's dubbed a horror movie. It clearly wants you to ask the questions that Jack's asking and also not get the answers that Jack doesn't get. Have you seen Nix? What did you think of it? Do we agree or disagree? Please do let me know. And on this channel, I do like to look at these movies and just try and find some hidden gems for myself and recommend to you guys. So if you haven't yet, please do consider hitting subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching.